Driver of GetBetter.com with a really neat kind of little tidbit for you today, a mini tool, if you will. This one's going to come in handy for you. And I taught my clients this throughout the course of my consulting practice because I never had a person working with me who was ever actually comfortable with saying no. I never had a person who worked with me who was ever actually comfortable with not answering someone when they asked them a question, even if they felt uncomfortable with the feeling of needing to answer that question. So here's a nifty little tool today that's going to help you with that, I hope. You can call this what you will. I think of it as putting it back in the other person's lap. Now, I'm not a fan of small talk, never have been, never will be. Just like not in my DNA to tolerate that stuff. But over the years, when somebody has asked me a question that it's made me uncomfortable to answer for whatever reasons, and I'll try and give you an example of this or two. I've thought, how do I deal with that situation? How do I deal with this? How do I let myself off the hook for having this feeling of needing to answer them? Well, unlike a whole lot of people, I'm just not one of these people pleasers. I'm not concerned with being a good little girl and doing what I think is expected of me. If you don't know me by now, you will never, 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 never know me, as the song goes. This is just not a feature that's alive in me. So, what do you do when somebody asks you a question and you don't want to answer them? It's uncomfortable for you to give them an honest reply. What do? Do you sit there like a deer in the headlights and go, oh, Christ, what do I do? How do I answer this without compromising myself and my true feelings about this? Well, here's how. And I guess my intuition is telling me now is the time to bring in this example for you. Years ago, many years ago, I went out with a fella a couple of times, thankfully never sexualized the relationship. I think that in hindsight would have been a disaster because he was way underdeveloped. But we're taking off in his car and we're going out to dinner or something, and he said to me, again, this is many years ago, he said to me, so how many clients do you see in a week? This was way back when I was still seeing people face to face in my consulting practice. How many clients do you see in a week? Made me uncomfortable because I guess I felt a little bit of shame in those days that I didn't have a rich, thriving practice. And I knew immediately, instinctively, that what he was attempting to do was kind of get a ballpark idea about how much money I made. That's what came to me anyway. So the way I handled that with him while we were in the car driving out to somewhere for dinner, I said, why do you think that's important for you to know? In other words, I put it right back in his lap. I'm talking like an Italian today. I'm using my hand gestures a lot. You can't see a lot of these in the background, but it helps me kind of organize my thoughts. Why do you think that's important for you to know? Oh, I was just curious. Oh, I was just making small talk. I said, I abhor small talk. It isn't really something I enjoy engaging in, never have. But the point of all this is I put it right back in his lap. Why do you think that's important for you to know? As far as I was concerned, it was none of his goddamn business how many clients I worked with in the course of a week. None of his goddamn business. It was of no concern at all to him. It had nothing to do with knowing me better or more intimately. It was just the kind of question that comes up among people, I guess, who have nothing of greater import to share or communicate or ask about. These kind of empty shells, vessels of somebody who's supposed to be a human, but they have nothing to bring to the party. Another one of my favorite questions over the years, and I'm being facetious here, is, so what do you like to do for fun? Oh, what do I like to do for fun? And I could certainly reply to this question the same way as I replied to the other one. And all the other ones that come my way that I really don't want to answer. I have no interest in answering. I could say, well, why do you think that's important for you to know? But since I'm kind of a smartass, and my smartassness is embedded on a pretty cellular level, I would reply to these men. Well, honestly, if I were to be really straight with you, I sit around for hours on end trying to think of clever snapbacks, clever comebacks, clever replies to people who ask that sort of question of me. And I leave it there. That's small talk. That's bullshit. That's not somebody who really wants to know you. That's somebody who's nervous with you, insecure around you, thinks that they've got to fill up every gap in the conversation, every quiet, every moment of nonverbal communication. They've got to make noise. They feel uncomfortable with silence. And so they engage in these inane, small talk kinds of questions. If you're a man or a woman who has a brain between your ears, you're reasonably developed. When you get around a person like this, they're going to annoy you. You're going to feel annoyance, irritation. You are not compelled to answer those questions. So the easiest way to let yourself off the hook is to say back to them, remember, put this ball back in their court. You might even say, interesting question. Why do you think that's important for you to know? I had a client many, many years ago. He was of a nationality that he felt that he was discriminated a lot against. He didn't really want to reveal his true nationality because of what he thought was a lot of stigma around it and disdain for it. So when somebody would say to him, where are you from? What's your nationality? What's your heritage? Deer in the headlights. Made him really uncomfortable. Felt a lot of shame because of societal and social responses to people who lived in his part of the world. So I taught him this tool. So put it right back in their lap. Why do you think that's important for you to know? Oh, I was just curious, is the response you'll oftentimes get back. I'm just curious. No, I'm a boring, empty shell of a person. I've got nothing of value to bring to this party. And so, because that makes me nervous, I'm just going to try and engage in as much small talk here with you as possible. This might offend some of you, but I ask you to look deep inside. What's really going on inside of you? Do these questions you're asking people really, do you just do it by rote? Or are they meaningful questions? Are these questions that really help you discern who that individual really is? What's underneath the veneer? Usually not. You're just nervous. You're not comfortable in your own skin. You don't really like yourself. You're not comfortable within your body. So you need to fill the gaps in a conversation with something. Because typically you're a performer, fixer, rescuer, jumping through hoops your whole life since you're real little to please other people. So, for all you folks out there, anytime you encounter a situation where someone's asking you an inane, small talk kind of question, and for whatever reasons, and you don't need any reasons, if you get a feeling deep inside you, in your core, that says, I don't want to answer that. Makes me uncomfortable to even think about answering that question. Don't. Just put it right back in their lap. Why do you think it's important for you to know that information? Hope this is helpful to you. Goodbye for now.